The rule of two is a foundation of the Sith, and the reason they have withstood the test of time in the shadows. But will Star Wars Acolyte shed some light on this dark history? And how will Star Wars Outlaws change the galaxy? Welcome to Star Wars Uplink, your place for everything Star Wars gaming, the TV shows, and the movies. Let's jump in.
Just you reconsider playing that message for him.
Always two there are, never more, never less. Asterisk, if you don't count these other guys with red lightsabers as Sith.
Yeah.
That's the way that it's been all the way through Legends. There's this idea of the rule of two and the proper Sith, and then there's gradients underneath that. Because if you look at someone like Darth Maul, wasn't quite a Sith.
Was he not?
I mean, Count Dooku's there.
Yeah.
So you've got...
But...
yeah. There's a lot here. But...
okay.
Yeah. And then the Inquisitors, they're not
right.
Sith.
No, but they're...
But they're not Sith.
This is very blurry.
Yes. It's all very amorphous in terms of like what is believed to be a Sith and what isn't believed to be a Sith. And it depends on the Sith. Mm-hmm. But the rule of two is this idea of a master and an apprentice. This was instituted by Darth Bane and was a way for the Sith to continue to amass power but flow under the radar. Mm-hmm. So it's not something that would bring a lot of attention to them until they're ready to actually enact on any of their plans.
And maybe that's why it gets so kind of hazy when we are more introduced into the Sith, which is like the main timeline that we see in Star Wars, because they're not flying under the radar. Like they're in power. They are the ones. Yeah, they are the ones in control. So maybe that's why it's not such a big thing. That's why we had Darth Maul. That's why we have Inquisitors. That's why we have this larger flowing powerhouse that is Empire.
Once
kind
they
of thing.
have revealed themselves to the Jedi,
right?
As Darth Maul says, once they are in power, they're able to spread it a little bit more widely. They're still the master and the apprentice. If you look at Palpatine and you look at Darth Vader,
for sure.
But then you have Darth Vader's minions being the Inquisitors that are specifically tasked to destroy the Jedi that have survived Order 66 and turn some of them to become Inquisitors to continue hunting them.
And then there's all the lesser Sith that just kind of
there's like
mess with different timelines and people and have their own little vendettas going on that doesn't really bother the Vader or them.
Yeah, but the main thing is like Palpatine and Darth Vader are the
powerhouse.
Core. They came from Darth Bane to Darth Plagueis to like now Palpatine to Vader, and that's it.
Yeah.
But when we look at Star Wars Acolyte, this new show that's supposedly going to be taking a look at the darker side of Star Wars, specifically around this Sith dark side focus, I do wonder, because there's this theory going around that in this Star Wars Acolyte realm, 200 years or 100 or so years before The Phantom Menace, they will take an opportunity to explore some of the history of the Sith. Maybe that's in the form of statues. Maybe it's in a form of research. My theory is if they want to go this route, they could do it where once they start hearing about these mysterious murders of Jedi Masters, what if they did some digging? What if they clarify how this isn't necessarily a Sith because the Sith in the history books are actually this way?
That would be a cool tidbit in a way to see the Jedi's folly in understanding the Sith.
Yeah.
Just to see their textbooks about like, oh no, it couldn't be them. They're too under the radar.
They only fulfill 2 of the 5 qualifications to become a Sith, so they aren't necessarily Sith.
Right. Yeah. That'd be fascinating.
The concern that a lot of people have with Star Wars Acolyte right now is with this exploration of the Sith. And then I think it's Ki-Adi-Mundi or one of the Jedi Council members says, "Oh, the Sith, they've been extinct for millennia." they need to take some time to dissuade fans and be like, hey, no, we know what you're thinking here. We know that you might be concerned that we're changing the history of Star Wars, but we're actually not because of this, this, and this. That's kind of what is needed with Star Wars Acolyte, because there's that very specific statement that probably stepped in a lot of the theories that they wanted to play around with when creating this.
Yeah, they're going to have to really walk us through. I mean, not too much. We're not here to be handheld, but we do want to see where we're at. Like, what are we coming from? What's the angle? What are we playing with? What's the sandbox that we're in?
Yeah.
Right, you know?
What's the world that we're playing in? What are the rules of that world?
Yeah.
And I think that's an opportunity for Star Wars Acolyte to take. But I do want to ask you, like, how would you feel if we got to explore some more of the history of the Sith?
It's kind of a double-edged sword. The Sith are great because they're so unknown. That's kind of the beauty of them.
It's like Boba Fett. When you didn't know a whole lot about Boba Fett, he was way cooler.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, if you don't know, they can't ruin it. But at the same time, it's so unknown. I mean, they do a lot of exploration in the books and stuff.
Yeah.
But as far as just your general average viewer of Star Wars, what do we know about it? There are bad guys, and they seem to like to keep to themselves. You know, like, that's about it.
Yeah. Especially in canon. In canon, we don't have anything besides Palpatine is everywhere, and he is the only definition of the Sith.
Yeah.
As far as Star Wars canon is involved. And the thing about the High Republic is they're fighting a different enemy in that realm. I can't remember the name of it, but it is not a Sith entity. It is more army-based. So going from this timeline and this era where there aren't really any examples of Sith or Dark Jedi or whatever you want to call them, to now as we're getting closer to that Star Wars prequel time period, now we're going to start seeing the rumblings of the Sith. We're going to see rumblings in the creation and the turmoil that's going to start becoming a reality for this timeline to set up what will eventually be Palpatine's rise to power. So one of the big tasks, and it's not like a huge part of Star Wars Acolyte, they don't need to really focus on it as like a big focus, but it needs to be there in part, is how do the cracks in the foundation of the Jedi get made to where Palpatine can come in and take advantage of that?
Yeah.
That is part of the problem that Star Wars Acolyte is, I hope, going to solve.
Yeah. I can't foresee them not touching on that. Like, it seems, as far as
even if it's just Jedi hubris.
Right.
If that's just it.
Right, yeah. We've just been seeing this trend of the Star Wars shows, it seems. They always connect back. Like, they always try and have some kind of touchstone to the original, to the canon, to all that. So I can only I would be very surprised if they don't at least allude to the future, to what we know of as Star Wars. Yeah, I can't imagine. But I still think that leaves so much room for the Sith to come in.
And even if it's not like more recent Sith history, if it is something that's like a lot deeper, like going into the war that caused the Rule of Two to actually get enacted, because that was one of the reasons there were too many Sith. There were too many people vying for power, and it was just a disjointed mess that allowed for the Jedi at the time to take advantage of that disorder and attack and basically wipe out the Sith. That was the moment that caused the Rule of Two to be put in. So to have this explored, I think, could be fascinating, and also be like, hey, no. See, back in the history books, you can see here that there was this massive moment where a ton of the Sith were murdered. And as far as the Jedi are concerned, there are too few or none across the galaxy to cause any problems. And they've done enough of a good job to completely eradicate themselves from the idea of the Jedi. And if you look at it, the character that we're going to be focused on isn't necessarily a Sith explicitly. It's just someone tapping into the dark side.
Right.
Which anyone could do. And that's one of the slippery slopes around, like, once you start tapping into that power corrupts. Absolutely.
It's an interesting place to be exploring in for Acolyte, I think. Because, I mean, maybe they'll completely avoid the Sith altogether. I mean, I don't think so. I think there's going to have to be some sort of mention, some sort of...
They've got to go to the Jedi archives and look at the library, right?
Surely.
Like, that's got to be part of this history exploration, right?
One of these apprentices are like, okay, you're not giving me any information. I got to go find out myself, sort of thing. Someone's got to be looking into this, especially if this is kind of done up as a whodunit sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, come on. We got to have a
murder
scene.
mystery.
Yeah. We got to have a scene
gotta
with
go to the
somebody
library.
going into the library, going through the files. Come on. Come on.
That's I would be very surprised if they didn't go that route.
I'm
because
so disappointed.
I think I would be too. As a former librarian, not going to the library is your first opportunity. Like, come on. First step in a murder mystery, you go to the library. Look at the archives, see what's missing. Obi-Wan did it, and he found a whole clone army.
Yeah.
Just putting that out there. But yeah, no, I think there's this great opportunity, and even if it's not like explicitly, we're going to look at this and we're going to see this, but maybe it's the coven of witches or whatever it seems like might be going on there, or some environmental storytelling, to pull a video game term here, which is just having things in the environment that could tell some of the history of the Sith that is just passed by, that people can go frame by frame and break down what each piece is. I think that could be cool.
Yeah.
Like with Andor, how all of the artifacts in Luthen's art gallery are back there, and there's like the Starkiller armor, there's a piece of like Ahsoka's history. There's all of these different pieces there that were put in specifically just to give people a little idea of some theories.
Yep. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Again, I don't know how much we want to be just straight up told about with the Sith. But I think there's a lot of opportunity for them to explore, to dish out a little more information, just to get kind of in the weeds with it.
Yeah.
But you don't have to shine the light completely on the dark side. Come on. Like it can stay shadowy.
Or maybe it is our main character, or what we assume is our main character, trying to learn more in the ways of the dark side. Maybe it's her path that illuminates more of the history of the Sith. I don't know. I think there's opportunity there for some very fun stories to be told. And I just would love for them to take that opportunity to maybe not explicitly say, hey, this is how the Sith were eradicated and this is why we don't believe them, but to honor the audience and say, hey, yes, you see these little pieces of history here? That is all you need to focus on. And that's enough for us. But I think there's a lot of opportunity for them to explore the galaxy. And in terms of exploring the galaxy, I do want to talk about Star Wars Outlaws. Star Wars Outlaws, the new Ubisoft open world Star Wars game, is looking to be pretty fun. There's some controversy with the actual pricing, which I want to touch a little bit on, which is there's a Jabba the Hutt mission that will only be explored through a season pass.
Oh,
so if you want to play that, it's like $130 to buy this game.
Ooh.
Yes.
Ooh, okay.
But more recently, friend of the podcast, Eric Eilerson from Utini, said you could do like the Ubisoft Plus thing, and then you get the Ultimate Edition of new releases, and that's like $18 for a month.
Okay.
So in theory, you could just pay $18 for a month, finish it in that month, and then you can just revert back to just the normal edition, or just say, yes, I finished it. So depending on what route you want to go, that's an opportunity. I did want to bring it up because that was a big part of this game, and a little bit of like a red stain on the excitement around this game. But now that we've got that out of the way, I do want to talk about Star Wars Outlaws, like what it's going to be in Star Wars, what it's going to affect in Star Wars, and just our general thoughts on it.
Mm-hmm. I'm actually kind of excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not kind of. I am excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're gearing up here. The underworld, like the underbelly of Star Wars, like it looks like we're going to be going through several different
Paths, really.
underlords, like going through their stuff, beating up everybody, and heck yeah, I'm here for that.
Because you can go through, like, there's the various underground, basically gangster families here. You've got like the Darth Maul side of things, which Kira is confirmed to be in the game.
Oh my gosh.
Not played by Emilia Clarke, but her character will be in the game, and you'll be able to explore that path.
Red Dawn,
I think.
Yep.
Something along those lines. The Hutts.
Yep.
The Pikes.
Yep.
You can explore the different interactions, and I believe you'll have, depending on which routes you take, you'll have different effects based on your story, depending on how deeply you go into one direction or the other. But your whole goal is to have this huge heist on this newcomer to the gangster realm and the underworld, the outlaws of Star Wars, really, to steal some of that wealth. This newcomer to the galaxy could be this opportunity of a lifetime. It is the opportunity of a lifetime, and Kay Vess wants to take advantage of that.
Yeah. I'm super excited. And even just the fact that it's a woman protagonist. Yes, thank you. In this kind of seedy gangster vibe.
It's a different
thank you.
perspective.
Yeah, very different.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the broad reach of this game, especially during the time period. Like, it's set in that gap of time between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, which honestly isn't a large amount of time, but it gives you a lot of placement.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to know where you are, you're going to know what characters are doing, and you'll know, like, generally how to feel in this time period.
Yeah. In a way, it gives it a good context, because you're not expected to, like, be in this for months and months and months.
Yeah.
That's not what this is. This is just a snippet in between the big happenings, you know. I think it's cool. I think it's a good time.
It's a gap in the fabric. Like, this is an opportunity for them to fill out the tapestry of Star Wars a little bit in terms of a story that isn't going to impact the whole of the galaxy, but is going to impact the characters within it greatly. And I love that opportunity. I think it's going to be really fun to see these characters to learn these characters, interact with these characters, see what the world is going to be like, and just generally get an opportunity to explore a side of Star Wars that we've all wanted. I know I've always wanted to have this. We lost it with Star Wars 1313 in terms of a bounty hunter on Coruscant. Now, it's not Coruscant, but it's still a bounty hunter story. It's an exploration that isn't like a Jedi-focused story. It doesn't seem like we're going to have a ton of cameos, but there will be some familiar faces. Like, there's Han Solo and Carbonite.
Yep.
And I think that's the mission that's locked by the season pass.
That makes sense. I mean, unfortunate, but it makes sense.
Yeah. There's cool stuff going on here. I think it's going to be a very different look at Star Wars. It's going to be more on the Andor side, where you're exploring just the average person in Star Wars story.
I mean, the average person who also is highly connected to the
you're not working
gangsters.
at a grocery store, so it's not that average of an experience, but more of it's not a hero of the rebellion. I'll say.
Yeah. That's a better term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, technically, Andor is a hero of the rebellion, but
not at the
not
beginning.
of like
not an Andor.
royalty birth in terms of like coming from a Jedi. Yeah. It's different.
It's different.
But yeah, what are you most excited about?
I don't feel like I know all the details. That's for sure. And I kind of want to keep it that way.
Yeah.
So a lot of like the gameplay and like how it all works seems to still be kind of hazy to me, but that's okay. I'll enjoy playing / watching you play it.
Yeah.
And it'll all be new to me. I'm just kind of excited to explore and just see what that feels like as Star Wars, but not super Star Wars game, you know? I'm just excited to see this little gap, this little vignette of just a different Star Wars life, you know?
Yeah. It's the first time in Disney's canon Star Wars video game experience that we'll see something outside of a Jedi-specific story. Well, technically, Battlefront 2's campaign is an outside of Jedi perspective. There's still, like, you play a bit of it as Kylo Ren and you play a little bit as Luke Skywalker. So with Star Wars Outlaws, we're stepping away from this experience. Like, this is the first time that we're really getting a full-on Star Wars blaster type game with someone who doesn't have a lightsaber.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to that. I mean, technically, Star Wars Squadrons is a little bit like that too, but it's different, okay? It's different. But this is definitely, and I can say this without any asterisks or double daggers, this is the first Star Wars open world game. Real game, not an MMO.
Yeah.
All you freaking SWTOR people, don't come at me. This is a real open world game that has real controls, not made for an MMO.
Fine.
Yes.
It's whatever.
There was one asterisk there. So I'm really looking forward to that. This is a type of game that I've always wanted to play. Ever since I got into Star Wars video games, like this is a type of game that I've wanted to play. To have the opportunity to be in Star Wars, to explore the various planets, to have my own ship, to make my way in the galaxy. I am so excited for this.
In a way, it does somewhat remind me of Cal's journey. There's just some similarities, some of the grittiness, some of the just like you're kind of starting from nothing and then growing, building up.
Building your family.
But that's kind of just how games tend to go, I think.
Yeah, you gotta start at a weak place so you can upgrade all your equipment.
Yeah. But the fact of we're not really seeing Jedi in this, like, at all.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great. I'm
just
here for
gritty
it.
bounty hunter fun. And like I'm really excited to see this. I'm looking forward to the opportunity, this very different world to be in. To have this different Star Wars game. Something that we haven't seen before, even if you take into account all of the Legend Star Wars game, the classic Star Wars games. This is something new. And it seems like they took some opportunities to progress the typical Ubisoft open world game. There aren't any towers that you have to climb to unlock pieces of the map. You will do that in different ways, or it might just be unlocked from the get-go. That's probably the thing I'm most excited to see is like what are the specifics of getting around this world? Because that's a big part of open world Star Wars. Like, what is this? Is this world going to feel lived in? Am I going to have enough side quests to feel like I can just go off into the desert and have a Star Wars experience?
Right.
Or is it just going to be mainly open world, but you follow this set story? I think if they're marketing it as an open world game, they have to have some good side quests. And if it's Star Wars, they need to be good Star Wars side quests. Yeah.
I mean, the sky's the limit, but that's a huge task. So it could go quite wrong. But I have faith in them. I think they'll do a pretty good job.
Yeah. And it's coming out quick, August 30th of this year.
Woo!
I am so much looking forward to it. But let us know your thoughts around our theories around the rule of two, and how do you feel about Star Wars Outlaws? Let us know in the comments below if you're watching this on YouTube, or contact at uplinkpodcast.com, wherever you find podcasts. As always, thank you for listening, and may the Force be with you.